Can you imagine roaming around in a t-shirt on Antarctica or on the Arctic? But that's what is happening. Look at the temperatures. And there is no typo there. We have not missed out on a minus sign. That's 38 degrees, yes, not minus 38. And that's the kind of extreme weather events that we are already into. We are not forecasting. Nobody is acting as a doomsday warner or something. 83% increase in extreme weather events. Remember the Australian forest fires? Remember the European heat waves? Remember what is happening in Pakistan and Bangladesh next door, the floods? Huh? And remember what is happening in India as well, the frequency of cyclones? Huh? An 83% increase over just the last 1 or 2 decades. That's where we are. Flood and other water related, that's just a number, $5.6 trillion by the next decade or by 2050. To put things in perspective, that's more than the current GDP of India, right? We are not yet even at $4 trillion completely. But the economic loss comes later. It's the human loss that's the worst tragedy. And we are yet to fathom the magnitude of what we are already into and neck deep into. But we talk of other truths. We talk of metaphysical realities. We talk of knowing the unknown and even the unknowable. When we do not know even that which is present right in front of our eyes. We do not know the obvious facts that stare at us and would destroy our lives, but we want to know of some hidden mystical reality. How will that work? Next one, please. Extremes. Just as we saw extreme weather events, look at the extremes here as well. We are contrasting the far and wide with the up and close, the near thing, and saying that be it the distant reality or the immediate one, we are equally in oblivion, right? Look at these extremes. And we are talking of dollar billionaires here, mind you. India ranks third when it comes to the number of billionaires in the world. And 80% of Indians earn less than rupees 10,000 per month. If you earn rupees 20,000, 25,000 a month, you are in the top 10 percentile in India. That's where we stand. The percentage of population below the poverty line is still 20%. And that's when we have defined the poverty line on bare sustenance terms. We have taken the minimum number of calories a person needs to survive. And then we say, okay, for these calories, what is the minimum amount of food grains, etc., that you need to consume? And based on that, we have drawn the poverty line, which is a very inhuman way of drawing the poverty line. And still, 20% of us are below the poverty line. And yet, we have a vulgar accumulation and display of wealth going on. The inequality is increasing continuously. You know of the Gini coefficient, right? And you know of how it has only been increasing in the world and also in India. Yes. Now, killing, violence. There is a violence that is happening on a global scale, on a macro level, and there is a violence that is happening right in our households. Let's first look at the former one. Fish, gone. Number of species that are getting extinct every day. Do you know that is more than 100 times the natural rate? The natural rate is that 1 or 2 species will go extinct every day. And that's a natural thing that has been happening since the last millions of years. But today we have exceeded that rate by 100 times. Some studies say 1,000 times. Even as we speak, a few species have gone extinct. Can you imagine the devastation, the total obliteration of life itself? That's what we are doing. And we remain blissfully ignorant. We behave as if nothing is amiss. All the fisheries gone, would we survive? 2048, it's as if fisheries are out there somewhere isolated, disconnected from us. Would we survive if they are gone? Please tell me. And India. Relate the last 2 points. Very few people realize that milk and beef are synonymous. Very few people realize that. We do not bother to inquire what happens to all the cattle after they stop yielding milk. As young, educated, inquisitive minds, should we be that complacent, that ignorant, that oblivious? Isn't there a direct relation between our dairy consumption and our beef production and subsequent export? But we don't mind. Next. Yeah, killing them. So we are not just killing the cows, the buffaloes, the fish, the entire wildlife. Look at who else is being killed. 189, that's rock bottom. I wonder if there is any country below us. 920 is the ratio. Where are those missing 80 girls? And if you are a killer, why would you spare your own daughter or wife? That's the worst kind of genocide going on in India. But we don't bother. We behave as if we are an educated, enlightened, empowered country, especially when it comes to empowering the other gender as well. Think of killing. Killing happens everywhere because the killer is the same. The fellow who can kill an innocent animal just for his pleasure and profit, why would he spare an innocent girl? She would be killed because he knows there is a cost to bear, and then there is a dowry to gift and all such things. Female labor participation rate, 25%. Worse still, it is falling. Education levels among women are increasing. Their labor participation rate is falling. Over the last 20 years, it has actually fallen. More women were at workplaces than they are today. 2 decades back, the proportion of women working was more than what it is today. Women are withdrawing from workplaces. 73% of them, even if they continue to work, they leave their jobs after work. And that's not really an informed and voluntary choice. It is to do with the social conditions and the cultural conditioning a lot. We talk of farmer suicides, and that's a very tragic thing, right? The newspapers are all full of farmer suicides, and that is something we must address, obviously. But what about the housewives? And does anybody bother to inquire what our cultural institutions are doing to the woman, to the point that she is compelled to die by suicide? And we are missing that as young students. When you talk to each other, I'm asking you, do you take up these issues? Do these form a part of your daily conversations? They hardly do. Next. Loss of biodiversity. And we'll be talking of another kind of loss next, right? This is a loss far and wide, as is biodiversity. This is biodiversity loss. I just addressed that. The extinction rate has exceeded the natural rate not by percentage points, but by manifold, but by multiples. 1 million animal and plant species threatened with extinction. Do you understand? Threatened with extinction. They are not just threatened. Their numbers are not just reducing. They are going extinct. We understand what extinction means. They'll never return. We are not talking of a few members of the species. We are talking of the last member of the species. It's gone forever, never to return. And we are talking of not one such species. We are talking of a million such species. Look at the third point. Let it sink in. The only mammals that are surviving today are the ones that we use. All other mammals we have wiped out. So if you want to survive on this earth, we have colonized, monopolized it to such an extent that if you want to survive on this earth, you have to be usable to human beings. If you're not usable, you will be killed. So, goat, cow, buffalo, sheep, camel, only such mammals that are of use to us have been allowed to not just survive but multiply. We forcibly multiply them, right? That's the reality of the animal farms. We forcefully multiply them, and all other animals, think of the millions of mammal species, we have completely wiped them out. That's who we are. Wild mammals represent only 4%, obviously. Yes, next. We talked of loss of biodiversity. Here is the corresponding loss of creativity. Have you heard of something called the Flynn effect? Do you know that each generation is significantly lower on IQ than the preceding one? And that has been happening since the last 40-50 years, since the advent of television. And now that has been compounded with the internet. We are losing IQ at the rate of 3 to 5 points every decade. Isn't that astounding? Look at the other points. Newspaper reading, magazine reading, declining sharply. When was the last time you came across a great new poetry book? A great new publication? Who cares for poets now? Innovation, creativity, intelligence, empathy, all of these things are being lost just as we are losing biodiversity. The loss outside is also the loss inside, and we are not seeing that. Yes. Superstitions. 50%, almost 50%, you add up those numbers. That's 10, 24, 14, that's almost 50%. 50% people still do not completely believe that global warming is happening and it's anthropogenic, which means they won't really participate in any climate activism. Isn't that superstition of the worst kind? And that same kind of superstition is reflected in something else. Look at what is happening on social media these days. Superstition rules. And if you can propagate superstition, you will very soon be a superstar. Is that not the rule now? Look at this. Miracles, yes, they do happen. And that's not just something that Indians believe in. Faith healings. No. The scientific system of medicine won't help you. Come to all the other kind of mumbo jumbo, and the number of deaths that is causing, that's going largely unreported. So a mind that does not care for the truth is what is called as superstitious, right? We do not care for the truth when it comes to macro events, and we also do not care for the truth when it comes to things in our personal life. So small things. You want to proceed for an examination. Somebody tells you, well, you should wear this thread or take some yogurt before you leave. And that same kind of harmless looking thing is what becomes the climate tragedy and subsequent extinction as well. So please don't take those little superstitions lightly. They are killing us. Good.